All right, welcome everybody to another session of Civil Chat, your monthly time to sit around and chat about all things civil. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're really glad to see you. If you've been here before, welcome back. I see lots of familiar names in the participation list there, so welcome everyone. Um, as you may have noticed, today we have a special guest with us today. Charlie Ogden from Autodesk is here with us. So last month, people were like, "Hey, Brian, we want to see about all this new drainage stuff in Civil 3D." And I thought to myself, I don't have time to learn all this to the level that I really should know. I bet I could get Charlie to join us. So Charlie Ogden is with Autodesk. He is on one of the product owners for Civil 3D that focuses on the drainage tools. So there's nobody better to chat about the current state of the drainage tools in Civil 3D than Charlie. He's been at Autodesk for 16 years now. Great guy. If you get a chance to meet him out at Autodesk University sometime, go up and say hi. Super nice guy. I've always had good interactions with him. So, um, yeah. So but again, if it's your first time here at Civil Chat, if you're not familiar with how we do things, this is your chance to ask questions. Um, Ask questions. We love it when people ask questions. But if you're going to ask a question, please put it in the Q&A panel. It helps us manage the questions a lot easier. The chat is definitely there for you to go in and chat about things and maybe poke fun at us a little bit. Be nice. We have a guest. All right, let's be nice to the guest.
Since when a civil chat
Um,
would have been nice? I'm just saying.
right. So, but yeah, make sure you ask your questions. If you don't ask questions, we don't have a whole lot to talk about. Um, so make sure you ask your questions. Charlie, I'd like to pass it off to you to maybe show off what you've got for us for the drainage tools. And for those of you that don't know, Civil 3D 2027 is available now. It's been available for about a week now. So if you haven't had a chance to go out and grab that and play with it, I highly recommend it. Go check it out, see what they've got new going on. So, Charlie?
Great. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brian. Um, yeah, let me just start with oh, where'd my share screen go? Here it is. Just before I show anything I do, since I'm at Autodesk, we're a publicly traded company, I do just have to say, and if you've seen any of our webcasts before, just need to say, I'm not planning to show anything that's forward-looking. I have Civil 3D 2027 installed. Like Brian said, that just came out. Um, but in case I do, anything I say that is forward-looking, if it's not in the product yet, please don't make any purchasing decisions based on anything I might happen to say that isn't there yet. So just wanted to say that. So what I wanted to do, I guess, was just give kind of an introduction to the civil or the drainage tools in Civil 3D. Um, Sorry, just trying to find what happened to my other screen here. Yeah. All right. So if you're not too familiar, what we've done is started to bring some drainage analysis capabilities into Civil 3D. And in order to do that, one of the big things we did was add some new drainage objects. Before we had pipe networks, of course, we had catchments. So you could easily analyze like a piping system, just or pipe network really, your storm sewers. So you could send the data to storm sewers. You could send it to storm and sanitary analysis too, but you're really just sending the pipes. You could use Analyze Gravity Network to size pipes in Civil 3D, but really to analyze the whole system, including like ponds and channels, we didn't have those objects in Civil 3D. So you'd go to like storm and sanitary analysis and you'd have to create those objects there. You couldn't really bring them back. So what we've started with is adding the ability to create ponds, to create underground storage, to create channels. That way, and you can kind of see them here in my model. I have a pond here. I have underground storage. It's really just a cube type 3D object here that we can tell it what the volume is. And there's also a channel. Um, and then everything's connected. So I also have just pipe networks, of course, and I have some catchments that tie into those. So the catchments flow into my inlets in my pipe network to get water into the pipe network, and it flows down the road into the pond, into the underground storage. There's a catchment also that flows into the channel and then into the pond. So once that's all set up, we can go and run an analysis using this new analyze drainage system command. Of course, everything else we have is still here. Analyze gravity network you could also use just to size the pipe network at least. So analyze drainage system doesn't do pipe sizing. It's very similar to capabilities of SSA and the analysis option in info drainage. They both use, or all of them use, the EPA SWIM based engine for its calculations. And that can analyze your runoff, pipe flow, storage, and outfalls. Whereas like with Analyze Gravity Network, you can size your pipes only. Um, Before I run this, I guess there's probably some things I'd want to add. So if you just have a pipe network today, maybe you have catchments connected, maybe you don't. The tool right now uses catchments as inflow to the system. Um, but with the catchments, if I go into one of these, we've expanded these a bit too. So if you look at properties, first of all, we have updated the UI a bit. We've included some functionality that used to be in a separate palette in this dialog box to create flow paths and time of concentration. But on the runoff tab, we've added some runoff methods. So um, you can actually calculate runoff besides just the rational method that Analyze Gravity Network uses. So you can choose a runoff method from the dropdown, enter in additional parameters that you'd use for that runoff method. And then we can calculate runoff from that once we send it to the calculation engine. And then I guess I'll just touch on some of the other objects like the pond. You can create a pond just by drawing it, or you can create a pond from a surface. So just creating it and drawing it, you can give it a name, depth, slopes on the inside, and then basically just go in and draw your pond. I'm just kind of drawing it quickly here. And it gives you um, this pond kind of pond pool here with sharp corners right now. But you can see on the toolbar, there are some tools to edit this, including being able to fillet the corners so you can get kind of better looking corners there. And you can do other things like adding some side slopes if you want a shelf or bench or something. You can play around with that. And if, that's kind of giving you a pretty simple basic pond to start with. But if you're going along and you need to grade it out, maybe you've already graded a pond with a lot more detail in it, like ramps or a slope on the bottom. The other option to create a pond from a surface would let you, I'll just zoom in on my surface here and let you select your surface and then pick a contour or type in an elevation. I'm just going to pick a contour here that I know is closed. And then I can see here it's grabbing this area. So it's going to create a pond from the surface that's there. Um, that way it could be as detailed as you want it, and it'll use the volume of that in the calculations. And then let's see, another object, the channel. I already have a channel created. It's basically defined from a baseline, which can be either a feature line, which it is in this case, or an alignment and profile. And then it'll use the elevations of that feature line or the profile, and it'll figure out the slopes along the channel. Uh, New in 2027, it'll actually break it into multiple slopes if that profile or feature line has multiple slopes to it, like mine does. It'll split it into multiple segments. And really underneath when it does the analysis, it's treating each of those as its own channel kind of connected to each other. You can also choose the cross section. So there's some shapes to choose from. If you choose custom, you can define what that section looks like, or you can go in and import it from some link codes that you can get from an assembly or a subassembly. So I'll just grab an assembly, it's up here. So this way, so I should say our, I'll just grab the top from that assembly. Our drainage objects aren't automatically like grading. You can get feature lines out of them and use those to grade after they define themselves and get the feature lines and add those to a surface. We're not directly like automatically creating a surface from them, but you could if you had a basic corridor coming down here using the same assembly and feature line or alignment and profile. Um, you could use the same one to define it for the analysis, and that way your model matches your analysis. Yeah, and then also channels just connect to some node at the start and the end. I do have a null structure at the start. My catchment flows into the null structure so that water gets into the channel, and then it ends at the or outlets at the pond. So I guess another key thing when we do go in to do the analysis, so I'll go to analyze here, and so this will analyze, like I said, the whole drainage system, not just the pipe networks. You can select any part of the network, catchment, channel, pipe, the pond, underground storage. And what it'll do is find everything that's connected to it. So pick the underground storage, there's a pipe coming in. So everything flowing into those pipes, or that pipe goes into a pond, the channel goes into the pond. So all that stuff is going to get analyzed as one system. And what I didn't really talk about yet is rainfall. So it's something else we added besides new objects. We added the ability to define rainfall in the drawing. So then we'd have all the pieces we can go and run an analysis. So opening the rainfall manager here, I'm just going to hit the little plus sign. So there's 3 different types of rainfall we can add. Known rainfall would be if you already know, like, um, basically your flow per time. It's just a tabular rainfall set that you could import or just type in. Others include IDF data. You could import from, I don't know if I have, like, so an SSA IDF file, Hydroflow, or a NOAA IDF file. I'm actually not sure what I have in my folder, but anyway, I won't spend too much on that. But you could import some IDF data, and the other one was setting up distribution-based rainfall, we're calling it. But this is similar to like an SSA. You could choose the distribution and then give it a rainfall depth. Um, so if I create an event here, you could choose a distribution or create one. We included the older SCS type distributions initially. You can go here and create a custom distribution, and then it would be in this list, and you could use that as well. So if you have something else you use, you can import that and use that. Otherwise, I'm just using one of these and really just give it a rainfall depth, um, and give it a name. So, and then if you want, you can click on a button here. It'll just show you what the distribution looks like. So you can see your rainfall data and the graph. And then yeah, you can use that. So I'll just create my rainfall here. So I already have one called Nashville. I have a few storms set up in it. Um, I'll use that in my analysis. So I can close the rainfall manager. So the rainfall you have, you'll see in this list. So I see the one I just created. I'm not going to use that. I'll use these from earlier. So I have a few storms, so we can analyze all three at the same time. Um, I'll hit, I know there's one thing I still need to do, but I just want to show what it's going to do first is validate the data, and it's going to find I missed something, unless I already fixed it. Oh, okay. Oh, uh, I don't know what channel that is. So the one I was expecting was this one. Channel one coordinates repeated. Okay.
Could that be because you use that assembly? Have something to do with that?
Possibly. I'll have to look at that in a minute. What?
Might be duplicating it somehow.
Yeah, so there is this catchment here that goes into the channel. That one has a time of concentration of 0. So I was going to go and show that, just showing an example of an error that it would find, and you can directly open the properties from there. And what I need to do, I skipped over this when I showed the catchment the first time, but we have the ability to set time of concentration and use flow paths. This used to be in that palette, um, but you can see here I don't have a flow path. So what I can do is create a flow path from an object or from a surface. To use a surface, I just need to pick a reference surface first. And then I can go and create a flow path. And I'm just going to pick this surface isn't really exactly what my catchments are grabbing, but um, zoom in a little because you can't really see that, but it just created a flow path in this cyan line going down the surface. So now that I have a flow path, you see down below, there's a flow path, and I could choose a runoff, time of concentration method, and it'll calculate the time. So we did just recently add, so for 2027, added Kerpeech and FAA. Kerpeech is pretty basic. It's probably the third more popular one in SSA. It just uses a length and slope. And FAA, it's also pretty simple. It adds a runoff coefficient. You can add more than one segment if maybe the runoff coefficient changes dramatically or slope does. You can have multiple segments. But now I have a time of concentration set up so I can say okay and come back here and now try to figure out what's wrong with my channel. Oh, wait a minute. Why is this? Hmm. I don't know. Let me just see if this fixes it. If I just use so after I make some changes, it'll um, just validate again and then run. All right, so there's something wrong with, I guess, maybe the assembly I used, though I've used it before, so not really sure.
You just switched the channel back to a trapezoid? Is that what you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to use a basic shape, and
Right.
now it's running, but I'll have to see what went wrong there. So yeah, now what's going to do is run through calculations of the three storm events. What this is doing, it is using a cloud service that InfoDrainage has. So this way we don't have to leave Civil 3D. We can just do the analysis from here. It's the uh, same engine that InfoDrainage uses. InfoDrainage has the option to do it in a cloud service or run it locally. Um, but so it's basically the same InfoDrainage calculations. And then once it's done, we could see the results and I'll just export it to an Excel file. So here are results. I ran multiple storms, so you could see toggle between these to see the results for different storms. You can see like the system overall, flows in the different catchments, the connections. If anything surcharging or flooding, it'd be called out here. Same with the structures and the storage devices. And actually, maybe if I go to 100-year or all those, yeah, so there's some surcharging happening on some of these. And yeah, so from here, you could, if you apply results, it'll save the EGL, HGL to your pipes and structures for now. Exporting data, we'll at least get the data out to Excel so you can arrange it how you want for a report. We did talk to customers about reporting, and like the biggest thing was at least get the data out so that they can have all the data instead of us spending too much time, though. I think people would like some better reporting. Uh, but this will export this out. I've just kind of selected everything, analysis criteria. No, I should have. So it gives you a little link here to open it up once it exports it. It's on my other computer. So we just put it in this folder. There's a file per storm event. And then I'll just open this up. So then all the data is in here, including time of concentration info. Apparently I had different runoff methods selected, so it has some information from more than one runoff method. Probably typically you just have the one, um, and your connections, your structures. So it's broken up into there's the input data and then also the results data. So again, to get all that information out, at least so that you can use it. So I guess kind of quickly, that's basic overview.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Charlie.
There were a couple
Any
follow-up
questions?
questions on that.
Yeah.
So when you're using the analysis, does it use any tokens or have any cost associated with it?
This is not using any tokens now. It's if you have Civil 3D, yeah, you'll be able to use this. We're not charging any tokens or any additional subscription.
And then Chris asked the question right at the beginning of your presentation, any chance DA0170 rational output appears incorrect, got fixed in 2027, or is a plan for future updates in both 26 and 27?
Yeah, yeah, there was an issue with I think it was in 26.2 with the rational method if you're using imperial units. I assume that's what that's referring to. That is fixed in 2027. Um, it was basically assuming that the data, sorry, let me see if I remember this right. I think it was assuming the data was in uh, metric units. So if you put in inches, um, I think it was trying to take the inches and convert it because I think probably in the engine it's using metric and then converting it back. Um, but yeah, anyway, it was fixed. You could, with the older version, you could convert the numbers ahead of time to metric and then it would run and give you expected results, but that's kind of a pain. But yeah, it is that issue was fixed.
So that's all the questions we had in the Q&A. I've got a whole list of questions here for you, Charlie.
All right. Are
But
we out of time?
folks, the question and answer panel is still open for folks to ask questions. So please feel free to ask some more questions. I'm just going to jump into the questions I have for you, Charlie, if that's all right.
Sure. All right.
The pond, does it have the ability to create a stage storage curve?
Yes, I didn't even open the pond, did I? Um, I created a pond, but yeah, if I go into pond properties, so typical properties dialog, there's a storage tab. It'll um, use the data, whether it's the surface pond or kind of the slopes. This one's just a basic pond from depths and inside slope with a fixed increment for the table, and then it's creating a curve, yeah, right there on the right for you.
And can we export out this data? Does that get
Yes,
exported in that export?
yep,
Okay,
you can
perfect. Oh, that's
export this
beautiful.
to a CSV file. Yep.
I was hoping that was what the answer was going to be. Um, and then for the pond creation tool, so obviously if you have a complex pond, you can model it using a surface and then define that as a pond. But for, it's just like, hey, I need a pond here. Is the bottom of the pond always going to be level? Can we put a slope on it yet? Can we put a flow path through the bottom of the pond? Anything along those lines yet?
Not yet with the simple pond. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just flat. You can see you can basically just change the slopes. So you could add breaks in the slope, or like I said, a bench or something. Either based on slope information or picking a contour. But yeah, no sloped bottom. That I guess you'd have to grade and then do it like I did over here.
Right.
So this
Right.
this one has a low point. It's kind of sloped. Yeah.
So with the pond creation tools, you could use the pond to the tools to create the general shape of the pond, and then you can get feature lines from that pond, make them into a surface, adjust them, create the final surface from that, and then go back and redefine the pond from that surface, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
and I think I actually did this a while ago, but yeah, there is a surface created from this, the feature lines from this one. Um, but yeah, that would be a general workflow to yeah, then go and add to this and then create a pond from the resulting surface that you've added more detail to.
Excellent. And then so you took the feature lines from the pond, created a surface from it. I assume those feature lines are dynamic to the pond, so if you go in and change the pond, the feature lines would update, which would result in the surface updating. Is that right?
Yeah. Should I do this live? Let's see
Absolutely, it's
this.
civil check. Come on.
Um, so if I don't know how good my grading was here, but let's see if I adjust that.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Yeah. So it updated the feature lines, it updated this grading here and the surface.
And is there ability to size a pond based off of a known volume? So my project, I need this much volume for the pond. Is there any tools to help you size the depth or the height of the pond or the side slopes of the pond to achieve a specific targeted volume?
No, not directly. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess your best bet right now is just to look at in the pond properties and see what the total
Just do the iterative process of,
storage is. Yeah,
okay.
grip edit it, check it, change
Is
dimensions,
this dialog box
slopes.
modeless? Could you make the change and leave this dialog box up?
No, like our
Okay.
other dialog boxes, yeah, this is
Okay. 'Cause
modal.
I know Civil 3D is going into a lot of modalist things, like, like for example, the model viewer and some other things. I wasn't sure on that one. Okay.
Yep.
Um, Max had a question. If the pond is created from a surface, can you edit that pond or is it dynamically connected to the surface?
It is dynamically connected. So this pond over here, going to pond properties. It's yeah, I mean this, let's see. I didn't talk about outflows or outlets. I mean, you could add outlets to this, which actually I didn't even show on my other one. But yeah, there's no you could see here too, like the tools here. I don't have those same editing tools when this pond is selected. So yeah, it's tied to that surface. Um,
If if the surface
and I
changes,
don't
does the pond change?
I think you need to redefine it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see here. Yeah, update it by selecting. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Looks like that'll let me grab it from a different surface too. Sorry, I didn't work on the newer pawn stuff. So
All right. So that's all the questions I had on the pond.
yeah.
Max had something in the chat saying, so is it better to start with grading optimization tools to achieve targeted volumes?
It could be. That would certainly because there, yeah, you plug in the volume you need. So if you know the volume you need, you could do that and get it graded and make sure it works grading wise with the rest of your site. Um, and then there's no direct way to bring the result of that though into drainage analysis, except, it creates a surface and then I guess
And you can use the
do what I
pond from
did here and
surface.
create bond
Okay.
from surface. Yeah.
I like the way you think, Max. I like that. Okay, so the channel. Um, is it if you have intersecting channels, is there any way to, like I have one channel and another one coming in on the side, will it account for that, or is it just two separate channels with the cross sections that overlap each other?
Yeah, I guess to do that, let's see. So for analysis, this is like I said, using
Mhm.
basically EPA swim. It's node link analysis, just like SSA and info drainage. Um, the channel is a link. It does need nodes at the start and end. That's why I have a null structure here at the start. That also lets me connect my catchment to it to get flow in, and then any flow coming into that null structure, since it's the inflow to the channel, like the water goes into the channel. So to have another branch, you would need a null structure and model these as separate channels connected with null structures or
Yeah.
something.
And then if you wanted to use the channel to help you with your grading, you could then extract the feature lines, trim up as needed
Yeah,
to
you'd have to,
connect them
yeah,
up.
clean up
Okay,
your corners and yeah.
perfect. Um, the water level in the channel. Does it calculate what the water level is? Does it use tailwater to calculate the water level? Can you see hydraulic jumps if you're going super to sub? Um, how does it handle the water in the channel?
So yeah, it's using the hydrodynamic routing in EPA swim or dynamic routing. Sorry, SSA calls it hydrodynamic. Um, but yeah, it's the EPA swim dynamic routing. So it accounts for in each segment of the system, uh, tailwater conditions. It can do, it could back up, it could do reverse flows. Um, so potentially, yeah, I mean, if the tailwater was too high, the whole thing could back up and flood. Um, so yeah, it should account for that basically at the whatever the downstream node is for the channel. In this case, it's the pond. So if the pond level got too high during the analysis, it could, yeah, potentially back up into the channel.
Okay, awesome. And then is there a way to get a water surface profile out of the channel?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Um,
Not yet.
yeah.
Okay. See Charlie's opening statement on the not yet. It's not available yet. Okay. Um, so likewise, if the cross section of the channel changes, you would just need to put a node in between the two channels and to adjust for that different in cross section.
Right. Yeah.
But we can put
Yeah.
changes in slope in the channel now without having to put in the node.
Right. And really what it's doing the same thing under the hood
Right.
for analysis purposes. It's not physically putting a null structure here, but for analysis, it basically is putting a node where that slope changes.
Okay. Awesome. Uh, so that's all the questions I had on the channel. Looks like we got a couple in the chat in the Q&A. Max says, do you see any channel from surface option in the future similar to ponds?
Yeah, so um, uh, we've definitely heard the request, so um, I'll leave it at that. A lot of people have asked for it, so
So you're aware that people are asking for it.
yes, yeah.
Good enough. That's a good answer. Um, and Paul asks, are you able to use a previous version of the custom pipe catalog to run the analysis until an updated catalog is built? And I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to in that question. Do you have any idea what he's referring to, Charlie, as
Previous
far as a
version of the
previous version of a catalog versus an updated catalog? Paul, is this like a really ridiculously old catalog that might not have like the inlet types and things like that built into it?
I mean, it should still be able to use part builder. Mine are actually probably part builder parts. Uh,
Catalog from 2025.
oh yeah, from sure for yeah. We haven't really made changes to the catalog format in a while, so um, I don't think. I mean, this model was originally built in an earlier version before 27, so yeah, it shouldn't be a problem using like a 2025 catalog. It's um, those should move forward fine.
Huh.
Trying to see what is this. It's a junction. Yeah, this is part builder. So I mean, this is a part that was built years ago. I mean, yeah, it's included in 27, but this might actually be looking at like 2025.
Awesome. And then Sean has a question kind of on the ponds. If you have a spillway associated with your pond, can you design and calculate its hydraulic capacity with this run? Does it have to be a separate analysis to determine its 100-year capacity? So any sort of weirs or spillways or anything like that in here?
Um, let's see, just have a
Sean, I'm assuming this is
spillway
like an
can
outlet
decide.
spillway type of a thing for our overflow, right?
So yeah, so I think so I didn't touch on, like I said, the outlet. So if I look at a pond, and same would be for the underground storage, um, I showed the storage tab. Inflows show any pipes, channels coming in, the catchments coming in, outflows, any pipes or channels going out. So if you had, maybe you wanted a channel downstream from like a weir, you could add a channel that's kind of flowing out from the pond. And then down below here, you can add different outlets. So actually, let me get rid of the one I just did. I have a pipe going out, and right now it's just set to do free discharge, but you could say it's got to go through an orifice or a weir first to go out, like an outlet control structure. You could tell it there's an orifice, set up the size, elevation of the orifice. You can add more than one. And, if it's an outlet control structure and they're all going to the same outlet pipe, you would set them all up to go to that same pipe. And there could even be a weir at the top to let water in from the top. Um, and you could set that up. So kind of I don't actually have an outlet control structure in my drawing, but that for analysis purposes is representing that. And it'll do those calculations going out. Now, if I just had an overflow weir, I might just create a weir. I think I'd want the channel downstream. I forget offhand if none will work right now or not. Um, but then you can put in the parameters for that weir, like how wide it is, the elevation, um, coefficient of discharge. And then it'll include those in the outflow calculations. So if you have a channel downstream, then that water will go into the channel and you can make sure the channel can accept that flow too.
So you can set that overflow weir to connect to the channel, and then that pipe 114, for example, you got here to connect to that same channel.
Yeah, I had the pipe was going just out to an outfall or head bowl,
Mhm.
but yeah, they could
But if you had a channel
connect too.
downstream, you could,
Yeah,
could
yeah,
they don't all have to go to the same thing.
right, right.
Awesome. I've got a couple more questions. So the way the analyses typically work is you have nodes and links, right? So nodes would be your manholes, your catch basins, and then your pond considered a node as well then?
Yeah, yeah, the
Okay.
storage, the pond and the underground storage,
Okay. And then
both,
your links would be your pipes and your channels.
right?
A catchment needs to connect to a node. So can you connect a catchment directly to the pond itself?
Yes, you can. I forget when, this might not be in 26, but you should be able to. It might be in 26.2. Um, I don't remember offhand, but yeah, you can now anyway. If I go into catchment properties for this catchment here, it kind of comes down the slope and around the pond. This one should be, yeah, referencing the pond. So
Awesome.
this now says reference object. You could select pond, underground storage, or a structure.
Excellent. The rainfall data that you're showing, if if I do a whole lot of work in the same location where I'm constantly reusing the same rainfall data, how is that stored? And am I able to take that rainfall data and share it with other people on my team?
Yeah, so right now it's stored in the drawing file, but you can export it to a rainfall library file, which you could then import into another drawing. You
Okay.
could, yeah. For now, yeah, that's it's kind of an import export to share it.
So there's not like
Um,
you can't path to a library of them yet or anything like that.
no, not right
Okay.
now, yeah.
And then Corey asked a good question. Can this be set up in the template? I'd assume so because
Yes,
it's stored in the
yeah.
drawing, right?
Right. It's in the drawing. So yeah, if you put it in the template, it should already be there ready for you.
Okay. Um,
And I typed in Rainfall Manager, so you can get to it directly without running an analysis like I did earlier. That way, so if you're setting up a template, you can just open Rainfall Manager and set it up in here and save your template.
and I think the last question that I have, so folks, if you want to ask questions, make sure you get them in the Q&A panel there. So when 2026 first came out, we had to run a separate install to get to the drainage analysis tools. The drainage analysis tools now just come with 2027, or is that a separate install? And if we're using 2026, the latest version, does that require a separate install, or is that just like the early versions of 26?
Yeah, I think starting in 26.2, we were installing drainage tools with Civil. So definitely in 27, you don't have to install anything separate. Just install Civil 3D 2027 and they'll they'll be there.
Okay,
I think we did that
awesome.
in 26.2.
I think that was when you did it.
Yeah.
Um, Robert has a question. What is the file size impact from storing the data in the drawing? Which data are you referring to, Robert? Are you talking about
Like
the
the
rainfall data?
rainfall.
Or is this different data that you're asking about? Rainfall data.
Yeah, the rainfall data. Um, yeah, I don't have like numbers offhand. It's
I can't
pretty
imagine it would be very
lightweight
much.
data. Yeah. Um, unless you're building like a library for like a whole ton of locations, then maybe you run into some issues, but it's pretty basic data. So,
Yeah.
um, sorry, yeah, I don't have exact um,
I wouldn't expect you to have exact on that
data.
one. My gut says that the file size impact would be very, very minimal. Um, compared to what's in a Civil 3D template as it currently is, adding a little a table that has, a dozen lines of data to it is not going to affect your drawing much, if at all. So, all right. Any other questions on the drainage tools? I see a question from Quinn on the daylight feature line, but does anybody else have any other questions on the grading tools?
Drainage.
All right. Excellent. Well, so Charlie's still here, so we got about 10 minutes left. We'll open up the Q&A to any topic. So Quinn was asking about the new daylight feature lines. Have you used that yet, Charlie?
I have not. I've
Neither
seen
have
it here,
I.
but have not actually, yeah, used it.
So let me go ahead and share my screen now, Charlie.
Sure.
So I'll give you a break. You've done all the hard lifting for
I
today. I
I
appreciate
was
it.
actually gonna try that on my channel, but didn't get a chance to yet. So
So so we're talking about Civil 3D 2027 now. Um, Let me get rid of some of this notification. So I was playing around a little bit. So I created a quick little channel just to kind of play around with it. Um, and one thing I noticed, I'm like, so let me go ahead and I went into 2026 and I was able to open up this drawing with no issue. My understanding is that 2027 has a new drawing file format that's not compatible with previous versions, but I was able to open it up in 2026. Do you have any
no,
insight into that one, Charlie?
yeah, no, 27's the same 2018 drawing
It is.
format.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
completely wrong on that then.
yeah, 27.
So
Yeah, no change in drawing format.
I'm glad to be
Yeah.
wrong on that. So good. So if we do a save as here, yeah, it's AutoCAD 2018 drawing format. Good. I should have looked at that first. So that'll make things a lot easier for us. I imagine eventually y'all are going to come up with a new drawing format. When that is, who knows? I was expecting it by now. This is what, 9 years on the same drawing file format. Before that, we had the big record of what, 2 years, something like that.
And a good run, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a good run. So this is awesome. But yeah, let's see if we can check out that daylight feature line. Let me open up a drawing here. Let's see, let's go to one of the sample drawings. Program files, Autodesk, AutoCAD 2027. Help. Simple tutorials, drawings, and we'll just go to the quantities drawing here. This is a great drawing. This is one of my go-to, let's try something out drawings here. And let's see, let's draw a polyline that goes from, we'll go from there to about there, make that into a feature line. Feature line from objects, we'll assign elevations. Don't ever use site one, folks. Please do as I say, not as I do. And we'll just assign those endpoint elevations. Right. So this is just a feature line. It's got a slope to it. All right. So if I come up to the quick elevation edit, all right, you can see this is starting at elevation 340. It's going up to elevation 350. It's got a slope of about 2.4%. And I need to daylight this off to the sides for whatever reason. So where was that? Feature line, create daylight feature lines. Let's take a look at this. This is a tech preview. So we'll use the, does it have to be a named feature line? Or is this the feature line that it's creating? That's probably the feature line that it's creating. The parent feature line, we'll go ahead and select the parent feature line. Select the side, apply to the entire length. Start station, end station. And then it uses a grading criteria. Nice. I'll grade to surface. Doesn't let us specify the grading. Specify a surface. We'll do a slope of 3:1, and a slope of 3:1. And there is the new feature line. That's slick. I really like that. This is something that's been, and I assume it's not dynamic. So if I change the parent feature line, the other one does not change, which in my opinion is fine, because so many times we just want to get this feature line to be able to be used for something else. This right here is just slick as snot. I really like this one. So whoever on the team over there in the Civil 3D world, Charlie, give them a high five from me, would you? I appreciate it. So Quinn, there you go. It looks like it's pretty simple. You have to have grading criteria set up in your drawing to be able to do it. It looks like it used very similar tools, but it's pretty straightforward.
And Chris thinks that's way less dangerous than grading objects.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So Chris puts in there, they're threatening that for a future release. Is that the dynamic link, Chris, that you're referring to?
No, that was the new file format.
The new file format. Okay. Gotcha.
See, you don't think I'm paying attention to when these things come up, Brian, but I'm always paying attention.
I do. I'm just not paying attention myself because I'm like showing off my screen and stuff.
Well, and then that you also, like what Charlie was showing, it's all over my head. So the advantage of having a Revit user be your
Yep. You're drooling a little bit there, Brian. Come on. Right.
Totally. No, I just sit here and laugh as Charlie was showing all that and everything. As a Revit user, I always get people saying, well, when are civil engineers just going to switch to Revit? And I just sit there and laugh going, oh my God, there's no way this could ever happen in Revit. I know nothing about what you guys are showing, but I do know it can never happen in Revit. So,
all right, we got any other questions there, Brian?
You have a new one from Robert.
All right. For line labels showing bearings, the setting to drop leading zero only affects the degree number, not the minutes or seconds. How does one create a line label that shows bearings without leading zeros on the minutes and seconds? Examples, 1 degree, 2 minutes, 3 seconds. The reason for this format is to match the label shown on an old hand-drawn plat. Wow. Okay. So as far as I know, there's no settings in Civil 3D that'll let you drop those zeros. And I get what you're talking about, Robert. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get into expression land. So if I come over here to the settings, and let's see, let's just do this for a line label, right? So you're going to have to create expressions for each piece of that, right? So, um, this is going to take way more than the 4 minutes that we have left. But basically, what you need to do is you need to figure out how to convert the angle measure, take the angle measure, and get just the seconds out of it, and then get just the minutes out of it, and get just the degrees out of it, without rounding to the wrong direction in case you've got a rounding issue in there, right? And then you can use that within the label style. So you can then within the label style, so let's just go create a new label style here. You'll create a whole bunch of different components, right? So you create a text component that is the starting direction, so the south. And then another one that is the degrees with the degree symbol. And then another one that is the minutes. And the nice thing about that is if there is no zero, then it'll just drop the zero because it's just a number. And then you would do the same thing for the seconds. Like I said, this is way too in-depth to go into in the last couple of minutes that we have available here, but that's the idea. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Thomas says, divide by 60 a bunch. Exactly. All right. And so you'll probably be dividing by 60 and multiplying by 60 and truncating and rounding and dropping and subtracting and all sorts of fun stuff. I've done it in cases where you want to, like add a leading zero. It's like, okay, I need a leading zero. But expressions is the way to go about doing that. So.
And Robert said, yes, thank you. That makes sense to him.
Okay, awesome. And if you want to take a shot at it, Robert, if you want to reach out and maybe brainstorm some ideas, feel free. It sounds like a fun one to try to figure out for sure. And then Thomas put expressions work great for catch basin invert measurements too. Yeah, so basically you take the top, subtract off the bottom, you get your inverts and all sorts of fun things. Expressions are just fun. Maybe I should do an AU class on expressions again. I did one, I don't know, 15 years ago on expressions. That was a lot of fun to create. Maybe I should do one again. I don't know.
Well, you have to today to submit that, so
I do.
so you better
And
get
I
on that
actually
right after
submitted
this, Brian.
I actually submitted a session on the new drainage tools in Civil 3D. So hopefully I'll get that. So Charlie, if you have a little bit of sway, perhaps, I don't know.
Okay.
I
don't, but
maybe I'll put you as a co-speaker. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. The recording is going to be up on my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and look for a Civil 3D Plus, you should find it.
There was a link in the chat way up above.
Okay, excellent. And again, Charlie, thank you so much for taking some time and spending your time with us. I really appreciate it. I got a lot out of this session. I hope everybody else did too. I know drainage can be kind of a niche thing, but it seems like every project needs it. So thanks, Charlie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
I wanted to make a point out here. Brian knew Charlie was coming, so he had a whole list, I could tell, of questions that he wanted to ask Charlie. You guys should be doing the same thing for Civil Chat every month. Have those Word documents already set up with your questions so you could just copy and paste, and we actually, aren't sitting here staring at a blank Q&A pod. I'm just saying.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I'll put this up on my YouTube channel. It should be up there in the next day or so. And we'll be back again next month, same time. And we'll see you all then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Where's the end button?